Hi girls, welcome to the first video that I'm going to make for helping you with your GCSEs. This one is about Macbeth, how to do the English Literature Paper 1 essay about Macbeth. Now, as you should know by now, you get given an extract and you have to discuss both it and the play as a whole. What I'm going to do here is just show you in about 5 minutes how I would plan to write an essay based on an example question. So this is one that the AQA very kindly gave us. They're too good to us, really. The extract is from Act 1, Scene 5, where Lady Macbeth is discussing, well, not discussing, she's talking to herself. She has read the letter from her husband, all about how he has been told by the witches that he's going to be king one day. And she is considering whether he will be able to do this. So the question says, starting with this speech, explore how Shakespeare presents ambition in Macbeth. Now, obviously you know that you pick a key word from the question. Well, what's it going to be? It's very clearly ambition. So everything that you say from this point onwards should be rooted entirely in analysing this idea or this theme of ambition. And then, of course, you're asked to talk about how ambition is presented in this speech and then as a play, as a whole. So what we'll do is we'll pick our quotes from the extract, and then we'll decide which parts of the play we're going to look at. So she says, Glamis thou art and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. So, you're already Thane of Glamis, you're now Thane of Cawdor Tor, and you're going to be king one day, because that's what's been promised to you. But I do fear thy nature. It's too full of the milk of human kindness. Now, that's one of the big quotes from this play. Full of the milk of human kindness. She says that she is worried that he is going to be too kind in order to do what has to be done. Now, what do we know that has to be done? Well, he's going to have to kill Duncan in order to become king. And, as it turns out, a lot more unpleasant things than just that. But she says you're too full of the milk of human kindness, which is a very odd metaphor. Now, just remember it's a metaphor. There's no need to say any more or less than that. Now, what are the key words that we would pick out of this quote? Probably milk. And, later on, you might also pick human in order to look at them. To catch the nearest way, you would be great, you're not without ambition, but without the illness that should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, that wouldst thou holily, wouldst not play false. What she's saying here is, you want this, but you're not willing to play dirty for it. You are too, the word holily suggests that she fears that he is going to be too good to do this, to do this deed. Thou have, great Glamis, that which cries, thus thou must do, if thou have it, and that which rather thou dost fear to do than wishes should be undone. So she is talking herself into a position here where she's going to have to do what he cannot, or rather what she figures he cannot do. Hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valour of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal. So what we have to now do is pick our next two sections that we're going to discuss. We've already got the easy one, too full of the milk of human kindness. Secondly, we would look at the fact that she's going to pour her spirits in his ear. Now, spirits there is the key word clearly because it has connotations of the supernatural. It's something that you can relate very straightforwardly to the witches. And then finally, you might talk about the golden round. Well, what's that? That's very clearly the crown, the golden round thing that he wears on his head, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have crowned thee withal. There's not that much there that you would talk about, so we've only got two things so far, so let's go back through and look at it further. Okay, remember, we're linking everything to this idea here, this ambition part. So I've said, well, too full of the milk of human kindness, that shows Lady Macbeth's ambition. May pour my spirits in thine ear, we could link that to witches and, ambition in general there. But where else could we look? And my attention is drawn back to this word holy. Okay, holy with its connotations of religion, with its connotations of God. That's what I would pick to go for next, all right? So there we have our three things. So if we turn onto the back page, let's just quickly make a plan. One, we've got milk of human kindness. Now there is the part that you would start to discuss all the connotations of milk and kindness and what it says about Lady Macbeth. So this paragraph here, this point we're going to be talking about, is about Lady Macbeth's ambition. Does she have any? Does she not? So then number 2, what did we say was second point? Okay, it was the, well, let's go with the idea of holily. And I'm simply going to write holily because that's all it looks to me, holily. And then we talk about the idea of Macbeth's ambition. Put a little apostrophe so we're using English correctly even in our plan. And then number 3, well, we've got here that I may pour mine spirits in thine ear. Now, yes, it is Lady Macbeth talking. However, the connotations of the word are all to do with the witches. So, what we've got here is Lady Macbeth's ambition, Macbeth's ambition, and then finally the interference from the witches. Okay, so there we have our kind of rough initial plan of how we're going to look at this extract. But as you know, you don't just look at the extract, you look at the play, you know, more generally, okay? Now, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to pick our next parts that go in between. So, we're going to put a little bullet point here, here, and here, because as you should know by now, the best way to write this essay is to weave these things in. It's not to just say, well, I know about this, this, and this in the extract, and now I'm going to talk about that, that, and that. It's about doing it in a kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 way. Extract, play, extract, play, extract, play. Okay? And even here we have the beginnings of our argument. Now remember, what's the key thing we're talking about here? It is ambition. Now, so we are going to be linking everything we say to ambition. So we look at the first part, Milk of Human Kindness and Lady Macbeth's ambition. What can we link to that from the rest of the play, the idea of her having ambition? Well, to me, the first clear thing would be in Act 1, Scene 7, where she is trying to persuade, or rather manipulate him, and she just starts to call him a coward. Okay? She calls him a coward, she starts to suggest that he's not a man for doing it, she talks about how if, you know, it was her that had promised to do it, she would smash her own baby's head off the rocks, and that sort of thing. It's when she manipulates him. This is the kind of best part to kind of prove that Lady Macbeth has ambition of her own. So we're looking at this coward section in Act 1, Scene 7. When thou durst do it, then you were a man. Holily, Macbeth's ambition himself. Now, what is the opposite of something that is holy? Well, it's something that's unholy. Now, what is the first thing we ever hear Macbeth say in the play? Well, we hear him say, "So fair and foul a day I have not seen." And what does that do? Well, it links him instantly to the witches. So we would have a look at that part because the holiness of Macbeth could be contrasted to the unholiness of his ambition. Remember, his ambition is unholy because it is something he is doing to spite the great chain of being and the divine right of kings. So foul and fair a day. Remember, this is witch talk because it's a paradox. Okay, just put that there just so that we know what we're talking about. And that is Act 1, Scene 3. So that is the part where we start to say, well, does Macbeth have ambition of his own within this or not? And then finally, we have spirits in thine ear, interference from the witches. Now, where can we talk about the witches? Where can we see the witches messing with Macbeth, or perhaps being the ones who kind of falsely trick him into doing this? Well, we would go straight to the second set of prophecies, okay, where they make him believe that he is invincible. You know, what shall I write as the individual quote for that part? Burnham Wood and Dunsinane. Now, that's not a quote. But as you should be aware by now, and as I've been telling you for a long time, the exact quotes often don't matter. Okay? And you're not going to be analysing the language of Burnham Wood and Dunsinane Hill. So that is the part we would look at. Now, that is Act 4. I think it's Scene 1. I could be wrong. It doesn't really matter. If you don't remember, just don't say where it's from. It's an easy trick. So there we go. Now, that is our kind of very brief essay plan for what we would write in response to this question. I'll put the question itself on your Google Classroom, but what I think you should do is, you know, practice writing an essay to this one, and what we'll do next is we'll have a look at me actually writing the thing, okay? I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time.